Welcome to the Crawcast. I'm your host, George Krawczak, and these are my predictions for Week 5 of the NFL season. And if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Now let's get started. The first game is the San Francisco 49ers, who are 3-1, versus the Los Angeles Rams, who are 3-1, and I think the Rams are going to win. So the 49ers and Rams are playing each other on Thursday Night Football. They are both 3-1, but I think the Rams are going to win. I think it will be a bit of a close game because they are divisional opponents, and it feels like divisional games are almost always close. But the Rams are just better than the 49ers in almost every way. Like, the 49ers are seriously dealing with injuries right now. Nick Bosa is injured, taking away their pass rush. Basically, all their wide receivers are injured. So their top receiver, I think, is like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, because Jawan Jennings is injured. Brandon Ayuk is injured. Ricky Pearsall is injured. And then Brock Purdy, it seems like he probably will not play, all because he is injured, but he might play. And it's just tough because 3-1 is a good record. It's just that just they struggle with injuries, and I don't know what's going on with the 49ers because it feels like this happens every single year. But they need to fire just their strength and conditioning coaches or whoever, because they just get injured all the time. And again, it might just be horrible luck, or it might be coaching, or it might be something else. I don't know, but they just they just need to somehow stay healthy. So Mac Jones did look good in his two starts, but overall the Rams, their defense looks good, their offense looks good, and their only loss came after a blocked game-winning field or after a blocked field goal, which let the Eagles win. So overall, the Rams, I think, are one of the best teams in the NFL, and they're really good, and they should be able to win this, especially with all the injuries the 49ers have. The next game is the Minnesota Vikings, who are 2-2, versus the Cleveland Browns, who are 1-3, and I think the Browns are going to win. So I think the Browns are going to win. This is going to be an interesting game because it is Dillon Gabriel's first ever career start. But I think the Browns can be a good team. Like, almost every single offense they've faced, they've largely shut down. Like, they shut down the Packers' elite offense. Well, I guess I wouldn't consider them elite, but they shut down the Packers' above average offense. They largely shut down the Ravens' elite offense towards the end. They largely shut down the Lions' elite offense towards the end, and they got a kick return touchdown. So this defense is probably the best defense in the NFL. And I think they can be a lot like the 2015 Broncos, where if you remember, it was the Broncos had Peyton Manning, and he was at the end of his career. It was his final year, and he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. But the Browns had the best record in the NFL and won the Super Bowl. I think the Browns can do that. They just need Dillon Gabriel to play average. Granted, I don't know if Dillon Gabriel can play average because we just haven't seen him play, so he might not be very good. But quite frankly, he can't be that much worse than Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco's been one of, if not the worst quarterbacks in the league. He's been absolutely horrible. And all the Browns need is just someone to be average. They don't need him to be great. They don't need to be a, like, top 5, top 10 quarterback. Just be like a top 20 quarterback. And the Browns should be able to win many more games and potentially make the playoffs. And for the Vikings, their defense was a major letdown last week. It could just be Aaron Rodgers because he played really well, but overall, very disappointing showing for the Vikings defense. And then Carson Wentz, he's been fine. Definitely better than J.J. McCarthy, because J.J. McCarthy's been terrible. But overall, I think the Browns, as long as Dillon Gabriel can play just average, just play fine, I think the Browns should be able to win this one. Because, again, the Browns, I think, are a good team. It's just that you can't win with an inept quarterback like Joe Flacco. So maybe Dillon Gabriel can be better. And like I said, Dillon Gabriel can't be much worse than Joe Flacco. The next game is the Dallas Cowboys, who are 1-1, versus the New York Jets, who are 0-4, and I think the Cowboys are going to win. So the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Jets. Again, I think the Cowboys are going to win just because they probably have the best offense in the NFL, even without CeeDee Lamb. Their O-line's good. George Pickens played great last week. Javonte Williams has really had a career resurgence with the Cowboys, and Dak Prescott has been elite this season. But on the flip side, their defense has been absolutely horrible. So it's going to be interesting because I don't think the Jets' defense is that good, and I don't think their offense is that great either. But since the Cowboys' defense is so bad, like, maybe the Jets can keep pace with the Cowboys. I just find it hard to believe. I don't really believe in Justin Fields. I don't think he's that good, and the Jets' defense has just been horrible this this year. And so even though the Cowboys have the terrible defense, I think their offense is still good enough to win this game. And quite frankly, this is my thing where everyone keeps debating on who won the Micah Parsons trade. This is why I think it was a bad move for the Cowboys, is because look at how terrible their defense is. Their offense has been elite, and now imagine having an elite defender on their defense. Like that, to me, would just make them a really, really fantastic team. And I think they're missing him because almost all the games they lost and the game they tied was because of their defense, not because of their offense. And so overall, I think the Cowboys are a better team than the Jets, and I think the Cowboys should win this. The next game is the New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints. The Giants are 1-3 and the Saints are 0-4, and I think the Saints are going to win. So the Giants are 1-3 and the Saints are 0-4. I think the Saints are going to win because even though the Saints are 0-4, they've been in every single game they've lost. Like they've really played above what expectations were. They're expected to be the worst team in the NFL, and they simply haven't. They've again been in every single game and kind of got lucky at or unlucky at the end of most of them. And then the Giants. Yes, they won, but Jackson Dart didn't really play particularly well last week. He didn't play bad, but he just didn't play well. And so what does this offense look like? Because their defense is pretty strong. I do like the Giants' defense, but kind of like what I said with the Browns is they're just looking for a quarterback that just wasn't incompetent and looking and making the bad mistakes like Russell Wilson was. And Jackson Dart did that where like he wasn't really offering many good plays, but he just wasn't making the stupid mistakes Russell Wilson was. And so the Saints, like I said, I think they are a better team than 0-4. I don't think they are a good team. I don't think they are a playoff team, but they have been in every single game that they've played so far. Spencer Rattler has been looking fairly decent. And again, I'm a much big believer in the Saints than their record shows. And so I think the Saints should be able to win this one. And this was my original upset of the week. But then I looked over my predictions again. And then I looked at it and I said, even though the Giants have one win, I don't think this can be considered an upset because the Giants only have one win and they're not very good. So I changed my upset of the week to a game we'll get to shortly. But overall, I think the Saints are going to win. The next game is the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 1-3, versus the Indianapolis Colts, who are 3-1, and I think the Colts are going to win. So I do think the Colts are a better team and they will win. So last week they made it a close game, but overall I just think Daniel Jones started his a little bit collapse, and I I I personally don't have trust in Daniel Jones. Like at least he's shown flashes that he can play well and be a good quarterback. But I feel like you're always waiting, just like when will the old Daniel Jones start showing up again? Like Sam Darnold, it took him till week 16 to collapse, but then it eventually did get there. And I understand now he's looking really good for the Seahawks, but his final 3 games with the Vikings, he was absolutely terrible. And now it feels like the same with Daniel Jones. It's like you're just waiting. Like, is he gonna collapse and turn back into the old Daniel Jones yet? I don't know. But overall, I think the Colts are a better team. They have a decent defense. Their offense is fantastic as long as Adonai Mitchell doesn't. Is it Adonai or is it Adonai? I don't know. I think it's Adonai Mitchell, but as long as he doesn't do some stupid play celebrating, again, to me that's unforgivable. Like I don't. Everyone saw Deshaun Jackson do it and laughed at him and been like, "Oh my God, Deshaun Jackson's the dumbest person in NFL history for dropping the ball before he scored." And then it happened like 3 times last year, and then Adonai Mitchell does it last week. Like to me, that's like the biggest unforgivable thing ever in football. Where like I don't know what the punishment should be, like $1 million fine, or like immediately get cut, or 1 week benching, or like suspend him 1 week, but. Like, I just don't get it. Just walk the extra 3 yards into the end zone and then do your celebration. Like, it literally makes no sense to me. Walk the 3 yards. It's not that hard. It's just astonishing to me that someone can do that. But overall, the Colts have been really good this year. And then the Raiders. They've been good in spurts, but overall, Geno Smith has been pretty bad. And we're not there yet, but I think sooner or later we're getting to the time where he might need to be benched. But overall, I think the Colts are a much better team than the Raiders. The Raiders offense, again, Ashton Jeanty finally showed some good stuff last week, but you just can't trust Geno Smith, so I think the Colts are going to win. The next game is the Miami Dolphins, who are 1-3, versus the Carolina Panthers, who are 1-3, and I think the Dolphins are going to win. So you have the Miami Dolphins versus the Carolina Panthers. I think the Dolphins are going to win because at least with the Dolphins, they did play well last week, and granted it was against the Jets who weren't very good, but the Dolphins showed that they can play well. Their run game looked good. Tua looked good. Unfortunately, Tyreek Hill did get injured and is done for the year. And quite frankly, I think his career's probably done because keep in mind he is old. He tore everything in his knee, so like the speed probably won't be there. And that's what he's known for. He's not really known for his hands. He's not really known for his route running. He's known for his speed, and so he's probably going to lose that. And like I said, he's on the older side. And you also have to keep in contention that the NFL is talking about suspending him because he was accused of beating up his ex-wife, which the allegations may be untrue. So we'll just see how those settle themselves out. Tyreek Hill does have an unfortunate history of that, of beating up his pregnant girlfriend in college, but overall, just I think Tyreek Hill's career is probably done with, again, the scandals, the injury, losing his speed, and overall and his age. I just think it's going to be very, very tough for him to come back. And so the Dolphins, like I said, their offense played really well last week. Their defense, for the most part, played decent. And then the Panthers, they're just a disaster. Their offense has never played well and hasn't had a single good game this year. Their defense had one really good game against Michael Penix Jr., and I think that was more of a Penix Jr. collapse than necessarily a good Panthers team. And I truly think the Panthers or the Titans, one of the two, but I think the Panthers are probably a little bit worse. And the Panthers are probably the worst team in football. So the Dolphins should win there, and Mike McDaniel's still fighting for his job. And I think there's something to that where he doesn't want to leave anything up to chance, and he's fighting for his job, and I think you have to give him credit for that. So I think the Dolphins are going to win. So next game is the Denver Broncos, who are 2-2, versus the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 4-0, and I think the Eagles are going to win. So this one is interesting because I want to pick the Broncos, to be honest with you. I think the Broncos' defense is good. I think their offense is slowly playing better, and Bo Nix is playing better. But the Eagles just keep somehow finding ways to win. I don't think the Eagles are a particularly good team. I don't think their offense is that great. I don't think Jalen Hurts has played that well. I'm not a huge fan of the Eagles. I just don't think they're that good of a team this year. But they keep somehow finding ways to win. And so I'm like, I keep betting against them and I keep getting it wrong. So granted, that means since I'm finally going against my logic and I'm picking them, that means they'll probably lose. But they remind me of the Chiefs last year, where if you look at the Chiefs, where they went, I think like 15-2, and you looked at them and you're like, this is not a very good football team. But they kept somehow finding ways to win with blocked field goals and like just weird play calls and stuff like that, where again, it just makes no sense. I don't think they are an amazing team. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, but they just keep finding ways to win, plain and simple. And I'm gonna say that it's gonna be like a missed game-winning field goal. It's gonna be something crazy like that that's gonna lead the Eagles to winning. That's my mark right there. Is the Broncos they're gonna be losing by 2, and they're gonna get the miss the game-winning field goal, and it's gonna be like 27-25. That's my prediction. So, like I said, I think the Broncos should probably win, but the Eagles just keep somehow winning, and I don't think that's going to stop here. The next game is the Houston Texans, who are 1-3, versus the Baltimore Ravens, who are 1-3, and I think the Ravens are going to win. So you have the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. Neither of these teams have been playing very good, but I think the Ravens are going to win because it's the Ravens offense versus the Texans defense, where like the Ravens defense is pretty injured and really hasn't been playing well. But the Ravens offense, you still have Derrick Henry. Last year of the Cowboys, Cooper Rush proved that he can be a capable backup and help win you some games. And so overall, I think the Ravens offense should be capable of winning. And then the Texans offense, they've been absolutely horrible. CJ Stroud's been horrible. Their line's been horrible. Just everything's been a disaster for the Texans, and their defense has been really good. Azeez Al-Shaair, there's a talk about him being suspended. I think it probably won't happen because there was a hit where he hit Cam Ward in the face, the Titans quarterback, and he didn't get flagged for it, but they're talking about it potentially being like an illegal hit, and I don't know, like it was hands to the face and probably should have been flagged, but it didn't seem really malicious to me, so I don't think he'll be suspended, but overall, I don't think either of these teams are that good. I just think the Ravens offense is probably a little bit better than the Texans defense, so I think the Ravens are going to win. The next game is the Tennessee Titans, who are 0-4, versus the Arizona Cardinals, who are 2-2, and I think the Titans are going to win. So this is my real upset of the week, where I was initially saying the Cardinals were going to win, but then I was like, I don't really have an upset of the week. So this is where I decided to change and make this my upset of the week, where the Titans 0-4, everything's looking bad. Defense looking bad, offense looking bad. Actually, I think their defense isn't that bad, but their offense has been horrible. Now Brian Callahan is kind of under the knife, where there's a shot he might get fired. And so he's fighting for his job. Cam Ward's still trying to do much of anything. And the Cardinals, they've been disappointing to say the least. Like, their offense has looked average, and I think everyone expected their offense to be average. Their running backs are all injured, and then Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray looked horrible last week. Now they might be starting to get on the same page, but overall they looked pretty bad. And their defense has been the most disappointing thing, because last year the Cardinals' defense looked really good and played really good. And this year they really haven't been playing that great, their defense. It's been really disappointing. Again, I think the Cardinals are a better team, but I needed an upset of the week and I didn't have one, so I am picking the Titans to finally get their first win. Ken Ward finally getting his first win. Brian Callahan finally getting a win this season. And again, I think the Titans are going to win. This is my big upset of the week. The next game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 3-1, versus the Seattle Seahawks, who are 3-1, and I think the Buccaneers are going to win. So this is going to be an interesting game and a very exciting game. I think these two teams are very evenly matched. The Buccaneers have been looking really, really good, and the Seahawks have been looking good too. I think the Buccaneers defense has been looking a little bit better than the Seahawks defense. And then the Sam Darnold last week, he looked really great, but overall I think he's been kind of more on the average side. Like, he had that one really great game against, I believe, the Saints, but other than that, those two games, he's kind of been average. And then Baker Mayfield has looked really, really good in all four games. The Buccaneers are also getting a little bit healthier because Tristan Wirfs is coming back, or I believe he came back, and so the offensive line hopefully will be a little bit more improved. And then, yeah, like this, I can literally see going either way. I think these are almost two identical teams with both very good offenses, average to defenses, and I just think the Buccaneers are a little bit better. That's why I'm picking them. The next game is the Detroit Lions, who are 3-1, versus the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 2-2, and I think the Lions are going to win. So the Lions should win this one because the Bengals are that bad of a team. Like, there was one play, I don't know if you guys saw it online, where it literally looked like one of those like Madden cheese plays where you had it was just a three-man rush, and you had the center, right guard, left guard, and running back, all four of them on the inside guy. The two outside tackles got beat instantly, and Jake Browning got sacked. And this has always been my contention. I do think Ja'Marr Chase is the second best receiver in the NFL. I think there's an argument, but I think Justin Jefferson is better than him. But Penei Sewell is the best right tackle in the NFL, and I always saw it as a mistake drafting Ja'Marr Chase instead of Penei Sewell because, again, Joe Burrow's going to continuously get hurt. You're going to have no one to block, and I think it's easier to find average to above average receivers than average to above average offensive linemen. Like, if you look at, the list of great offensive linemen versus great receivers, I think it's easier to find a great receiver than easier to find a great offensive lineman. So I thought that was kind of a mistake. And Jake Browning's just been terrible, and I don't know if the Bengals want to call their season over. They're 2-2, which isn't that bad of a record, but like they need to trade for someone like Kirk Cousins or trade for someone like Jameis Winston, and I'm not even sure they can help that much either. Like at this point, I'm wondering if they just throw in the towel and basically say the season's over because Jake Browning has been that bad, the offensive line has been that bad, and the defense hasn't been much better. And then if you look at Detroit, their defense, I don't think their defense is that good. I'm not a huge fan of their defense, but they should be able to shut down Jake Browning in this horrible offense. And then the Lions offense should crush this Bengals defense. Like they should be on the verge of like 50 points. Like they should be at that level because of how bad this Bengals defense is. And I understand that people have pointed out that sometimes the Lions used to lose to like bad teams. Like if you look at this, like before Dan Campbell, the Lions would always beat the best teams and lose to the worst teams. But Dan Campbell's turned that around where they should handle business. They should beat the Bengals, and it honestly it really shouldn't be that close. The next game is the Washington Commanders, who are 2-2, versus the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 3-1, and the Chargers should win. So that's an interesting game as well. Jayden Daniels seems like he should be back, but the Commanders' offense really hasn't played that well this year. Like, Jayden Daniels has not played that well in the 2 games he started, and then Mariota, the first game he played really well, second game he didn't really play that great, but overall the Commanders' offense has been quite a bit of a letdown. And then the Chargers, their offense has been really, really great. The injury to Khalil Mack has really crushed their defense and hurt them a lot, but I still think this Chargers team is a good team. And then the Commanders, they've relied heavily on their defense to play super well, and that concerns me because last week their defense kind of fell apart and broke a little bit. And so this Chargers offense, being Justin Herbert being on his MVP run and playing really, really well, and them effectively having 3 wide receiver ones in Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen, and Ladd McConkey, I think the Chargers should be able to win this one. And I'm kind of nervous for the Commanders. I think they're like really on a borderline playoff team / could miss the playoffs this year. I'm not a believer in their offense. Jayden Daniels, although he was really good last year, this year it feels like he hasn't proven anything. And now that their really good defense is starting to fall apart a little bit, I'm a bit nervous for them. I think the Chargers should win. The next game is the New England Patriots, who are 2-2, versus the Buffalo Bills, who are 4-0, and I think the Bills should win. So the Patriots versus the Bills, of course, is a divisional matchup, and divisional games always feel like they are close and could go either way. And the Patriots offense has been playing really well recently, but the Bills, man, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league right now. He's playing absolutely phenomenal, and I think the Bills should clean up and win. Yes, the Patriots offense has been playing well recently, but I don't think their defense is that great. And overall, I just think the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL. Their defense is playing well, and just Josh Allen, James Cook, they just feel unstoppable right now. So I think the Bills should win this one. The final game is the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 2-2, versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 3-1, and I think the Chiefs are going to win. So I think the Chiefs are going to win. Their defense looks like they're back and playing really well. Patrick Mahomes played incredibly well last week. And overall, this is kind of the Chiefs team that we're used to with their strong defense. And then with Xavier Worthy kind of opening up the offense again is playing better because Travis Kelce just simply can't be a wide receiver one anymore. And so if Xavier Worthy going down, it's really a big kind of struggle for their offense. And then the Jaguars, I'm not high on the Jaguars at all. I don't think they're a particularly good team. I think they kind of got lucky with easier opponents in their 3 games won, and I just don't believe in the Jaguars. I don't think they're very good. So overall, the Chiefs should win this. Their defense should play well. I don't really like Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's been playing that well. And again, all Patrick Mahomes needs to do is play average, because that's what happened last year. He wasn't very good last year, but the Chiefs' defense dominated and led them to having the best record in the league. Whereas now that their defense has been showing a little kinks, but overall has been playing really well, Patrick Mahomes seems back, and I just think the Chiefs should win this. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Which teams do you think will win? Which players you like? Which players you don't? And if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money, and I'll see you on the next one.